Egypt, a land filled with ancient treasures and hidden secrets, has one ruler who remains a mystery: Cleopatra. She was the lover of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony and once the most powerful woman on earth. But over time, traces of Egypt's last queen have nearly disappeared from history. Recently, Egyptian researchers have discovered an ancient tunnel revealing the lost tomb of Cleopatra. Join us as we unveil how the tomb of Cleopatra was discovered and the truth it uncovered about the pyramids. The lost tomb of Cleopatra stands as one of the most exciting and mysterious achievements in the field of archaeology. Cleopatra, the last ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, has captured the imagination of people for centuries. She was known for her sharp mind, political cunning, and legendary romances with Roman leaders Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. For a long time, the exact location of her burial place remained one of history's most puzzling mysteries. The breakthrough in the search for Cleopatra's tomb came in the early 21st century, driven by two passionate individuals, Dr. Zahi Hawass, Egypt's former Minister of Antiquities, and Kathleen Martinez, a Dominican lawyer who became a self-taught archaeologist out of her deep admiration for Cleopatra. Inspired by Cleopatra's legacy and extensive research of ancient texts, Martinez proposed a bold theory that Cleopatra and Mark Antony were buried in the Temple of Taposiris Magna, near the ancient city of Alexandria. Martinez's theory was based on a detailed study of historical writings by ancient historians like Plutarch and Cassius Dio. These accounts suggested that Cleopatra might have been laid to rest in a temple dedicated to the goddess Isis, a deity Cleopatra deeply honored. This idea was quite different from the widely held belief that Cleopatra was buried within the city of Alexandria itself. In 2005, after much effort, Martinez received permission from Egyptian authorities to begin excavations at Taposiris Magna, setting the stage for what could be one of the most remarkable archaeological discoveries of all time. Excavating at Taposiris Magna was a tough job. The site, right on the edge of the Libyan desert, had many challenges because of its unstable structures and the complex layers of archaeological finds. Over several years, the team discovered some amazing artifacts. They found coins with Cleopatra's image, statues, and inscriptions. All of these pieces of evidence supported the idea that this site was connected to Cleopatra. What made this discovery even more intriguing was the strange and seemingly random way some finds happened. Many key discoveries occurred during unusual weather events, like sudden sandstorms or unexpected rain, almost as if these weather changes were guiding the archaeologists to important areas. Some team members even reported having vivid dreams and visions of ancient rituals, which they believed were signs of spiritual guidance. One particularly fascinating discovery was a large, unfinished tunnel beneath a temple, leading to a series of chambers. This tunnel was carved with great skill, suggesting it was meant for someone very important, possibly Cleopatra herself. Inside these chambers, the team found a hidden room filled with golden artifacts and inscriptions referring to a Queen of Kings, a title often associated with Cleopatra. When Cleopatra's tomb was first discovered, it caused a huge stir in the media and captured the public's imagination. Press conferences were held, documentaries were made, and the artifacts from the tomb were carefully sorted and preserved. Many of these items, like statues, jewelry, and coins, were displayed in museums around the world, attracting millions of visitors eager to learn more about Cleopatra and her time. The discovery of the tomb at Taposiris Magna became a major focus of ongoing archaeological study. Experts, including scholars and historians, worked together to explore the surrounding area. They found more buildings and artifacts that gave further insights into the ancient period. This finding also prompted a re-examination of other possible burial sites across Egypt, leading to new excavations and valuable historical discoveries. The site itself turned into a popular tourist spot, which greatly benefited the local economy and deepened the public's appreciation for Egypt's rich cultural heritage. Educational programs and public lectures shared the knowledge gained from the discovery, inspiring a new generation of archaeologists and historians. Cleopatra's tomb is a treasure collection of unique and intriguing details about her life and rule. One of the most striking things about Cleopatra was her skill with languages. She spoke many, including Egyptian, Greek, Latin, and possibly even more. This made it easy for her to talk to different people and leaders from various cultures. Her ability to speak so many languages was a huge advantage in her diplomatic efforts and helped her maintain strong political alliances. Cleopatra's reign was a fascinating mix of Egyptian and Greek cultures. She took on Egyptian traditions and religious practices, even presenting herself as the goddess Isis reincarnated. At the same time, she remained deeply connected to her Greek roots. This blend of cultures was visible in the art, buildings, and religious ceremonies of her time, creating a rich and lively cultural scene. The tomb at Taposiris Magna, which is thought to be Cleopatra's final resting place, showcases her vision for architecture. The tomb includes detailed carvings, hidden rooms, and complex tunnels, highlighting the advanced engineering and architectural skills of that era. The design of the tomb reflects the grandeur and sophistication Cleopatra likely imagined for her eternal home. The objects found in Cleopatra's tomb are full of meaning. They include golden jewelry, statues, and inscriptions that highlight her royal status, religious beliefs, and political ambitions. These items give us a peek into her life, her reign, and her wish to be remembered as a divine ruler. The symbols and writings on these artifacts reveal how Cleopatra saw herself and how she wanted future generations to view her. The discovery of hidden rooms and tunnels within the tomb shows that Cleopatra went to great lengths to protect her final resting place. These secret features suggest that she had a sophisticated understanding of architecture and a deep respect for the afterlife. They also add a sense of mystery and intrigue, showing how important it was for Cleopatra to safeguard her legacy. The tomb complex at Taposiris Magna is large and features a network of interconnected rooms and tunnels. The main burial chamber, thought to be Cleopatra's final resting place, is decorated with detailed carvings and golden artifacts. The size and elaborate design of the tomb suggest it was meant for someone of great importance, supporting the idea that it could be Cleopatra's final resting place. Among the artifacts found were many statues, some showing Cleopatra herself, and others depicting Egyptian gods and goddesses. The team also uncovered a large collection of golden jewelry, such as necklaces, bracelets, and rings, many of which have hieroglyphs and symbols related to royalty and divinity. Additionally, they discovered coins with Cleopatra's image and inscriptions, which further confirmed the tomb's identity. These items not only highlight Cleopatra's royal status but also give us a direct link to her life and reign, deepening our understanding of her time. One of the biggest mysteries about Cleopatra is how she died. The traditional story suggests that she died by allowing a venomous snake, an asp, to bite her. However, some scholars have other theories. Another interesting idea is that Cleopatra's relationship with Rome was more complex than usually thought. Some historians believe her alliances with Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony were part of a bigger plan to create a unified Greco-Roman Egyptian empire, with Alexandria as its capital. This theory suggests that Cleopatra's ambitions went beyond Egypt, aiming to create a new world order centered around her rule. The discovery of Cleopatra's tomb has also led to speculation about a possible curse related to disturbing her final resting place, similar to the curse of Tutankhamun. Some think that those who enter Cleopatra's tomb might face bad luck or supernatural revenge. While there's no solid evidence for this, it adds an extra layer of mystery. An intriguing coincidence related to the discovery is the alignment of astrological events. Researchers noticed that breakthroughs in the excavation often occurred during notable celestial events, like eclipses and planetary alignments. Some believe these alignments might not be mere coincidences, but signs of divine intervention or ancient knowledge built into the tomb's design. Several team members reported having intuitive insights and hunches that led them to important discoveries, like finding hidden chambers or interpreting mysterious inscriptions. Although these experiences can't be scientifically explained, they add to the mystique of the discovery process. Cleopatra's legacy also includes her efforts to be seen as a divine ruler. She was closely linked to the goddess Isis and often portrayed herself as her earthly embodiment. This connection was part of her strategy to legitimize her rule and strengthen her bond with the Egyptian people. The artifacts found in her tomb, including statues and inscriptions showing her as Isis, highlight this aspect of her reign. Next, let's unveil the mystery of one of Egypt's historical temples, Taposiris Magna. Taposiris Magna was a city built by Pharaoh Ptolemy II Philadelphus sometime between 280 and 270 BC. Its name means, Great Tomb of Osiris, referring to a significant Egyptian temple in the city. According to the historian Plutarch, this temple was linked to the god Osiris, one of Egypt's most important deities. After Alexander the Great conquered Egypt in 332 BC and founded the city of Alexandria, Taposiris Magna became a major site for the religious festival of Khoiak, which celebrated the death and resurrection of Osiris. During this time, Egypt was under the rule of the Ptolemaic kingdom, a dynasty that began after Alexander's conquests and was the last to rule Egypt before it became part of the Roman Empire. This period, known as the Hellenistic period, lasted until Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh, died in 30 BC. In 1798, Napoleon Bonaparte arrived in Egypt with his army, and French scientists who accompanied him began studying the architecture of Taposiris Magna. Their findings were later published in a famous work called Description de l'Egypte star. In the 20th century, Italian archaeologist Evaristo Breccia led new excavations of the site. Some believe that Alexander the Great himself may have visited Taposiris Magna on his way to the Siwa oasis, suggesting the city was already established during his time. The city was strategically located on the edge of the ancient Lake Meotis, which has since dried up. Because of its position near a harbor, Taposiris Magna might have been an important trading hub between Egypt and Libya. Traders could use the lake for transport and then continue their journey by land. The region was also known for producing high-quality wine that was famous across the ancient world. Although not everyone agreed on the city's exact role in trade, high on the T-Ridge, a striking limestone formation that separates the shining sea from Lake Meotis, two ancient monuments stand proudly. These old structures, partly fixed up in the 1930s, tell stories of a past time. One of these monuments is a tall structure that has played an important role in recreating the famous lighthouse of Alexandria. The other is the remains of a temple dedicated to the god Osiris, believed by some to be the final resting place of the legendary Cleopatra. In a detailed study of the tower completed by 1974, experts found that the Tower of Arbusa was not, as once thought, a lighthouse or even a watchtower. Instead, it was likely a memorial built during the Ptolemaic era after the famous Pharos lighthouse was made nearby. Remains of both private and public buildings have been dug up, including water tanks and churches. The burial ground here shows the different burial practices of the ancient world, featuring everything from stone coffins and pyramids to columns and decorative pillars. This ancient settlement thrived from the 2nd century BC to the 7th century AD. In 2022, a surprising discovery was made beneath this ancient Egyptian temple, a tunnel lying 20 meters underground. This tunnel, measuring 2 meters in height and stretching 1,305 meters in length, once carried water to thousands of people. It is an exact copy of the famous tunnel of Eupalinos in Greece, which served a similar purpose. Archaeologists have been carefully digging at this site since 1998. In 2010, they found a huge granite statue of a Ptolemaic king, though the statue is missing its head. They also found the original entrance to the Temple of Osiris, decorated with limestone foundation stones. One of these stones showed evidence that the entrance was once lined with a series of Sphinx statues, reflecting the grandeur of the pharaonic era. Dr. Zahi Hawass, a well-known archaeologist, suggested that the statue could represent Ptolemy IV, the Hellenistic pharaoh who built the Taposiris Magna temple. Behind the temple, archaeologists found a huge graveyard filled with mummies in the Greco-Roman style. Hawass mentioned that initial studies showed the mummies were buried with their faces looking towards the temple. This, he explained, hints that the temple might have been the final resting place of a very important royal figure, perhaps even Cleopatra herself. The adventure began in 2022 when a Dominican lawyer named Kathleen Martinez funded and led an expedition on her own. So far, she and her team have discovered 27 tombs. 20 of these tombs are shaped like vaulted sarcophagi and are partly underground and partly above ground. The other 7 tombs have staircases that lead to simpler burial chambers. Inside these tombs, they found 10 mummies, 2 of which were covered in gold. This cemetery suggests that a person of high importance, possibly even royalty, might be buried within the temple. The design of the tombs points to their creation during the Greco-Roman period. Martinez revealed that the team has uncovered a temple at Taposiris Magna dedicated to the goddess Isis, and they have discovered coins with the face of Alexander the Great. They also found several deep shafts inside the temple, 3 of which appear to have been used for burials. It's possible that these shafts were the final resting places of important figures. The team leaders speculate that Cleopatra and Mark Antony might be buried in one of these shafts. Martinez mentioned that they also found a striking head of Cleopatra and 22 coins with her image. These artifacts show her as a great beauty, which contradicts a claim by an English museum curator that she was not attractive. The items from Taposiris display her beauty. Additionally, the sculpted head of Cleopatra does not show any features suggesting sub-Saharan ancestry, challenging another theory. The team also discovered many amulets and a beautiful headless statue from the Ptolemaic period. Among the most intriguing finds is a unique mask of a man with a clefted chin, resembling known portraits of Mark Antony. In 2002, a radar survey was conducted at the ancient temple of Taposiris Magna, located west of Alexandria, Egypt. This survey was part of a quest to find the tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. The excavation of the temple and its surroundings was led by Zahi Hawass, who was the Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, SCA, at the time, and Kathleen Martinez, a scholar from the Dominican Republic. By 2012, it was discovered that the ruins had been damaged during the Second Battle of El Alamein. The excavation team uncovered several unexploded bombs and the remains of Italian and New Zealand soldiers within the temple's tunnels. Excavation work was paused in 2013, but Martinez later received permission to resume her research at the site. In October 2015, a documentary titled *Cleopatra's Lost Tomb* aired on Channel 4 in the UK and featured Martinez expressing her belief that they were close to finding Cleopatra's tomb. She pointed to a specific area where 2 potential tombs had been found deep underground. There was hope that exploration of these tombs would begin with the opening of the digging season in 2016. On June 21, 2020, the Science Channel released a 2-hour documentary called *Cleopatra, Sex, Lies, and Secrets*, which showcased recent findings from the site. In January 2021, researchers led by Kathleen Martinez announced the discovery of ancient tombs that were about 2,000 years old. These tombs from the Greek and Roman periods contained golden tongues, which were believed to help speak to the deity Osiris in the afterlife. Among the discoveries were gold leaf amulets shaped like tongues and mummies decorated in various ways. One wore a crown adorned with the horns of the goddess Atha and the cobra snake, symbolizing the deity Wadjet, while another had a gilded necklace. In 2022, a significant find was reported, a 1,305-meter-long water transport tunnel from the Ptolemaic era, located 20 meters below the ground. Now, let's unravel what led to the demise of the last queen of Egypt. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Deep beneath the busy streets of Egypt, a team of archaeologists found a hidden ancient tunnel, revealing the lost tomb of Cleopatra. The tunnel, closed for thousands of years, was covered with detailed hieroglyphs, glowing faintly in the low light. As they moved forward, their torches showed a huge stone door with Cleopatra's royal seal. Holding their breath, they pushed it open. Inside, the air was filled with the smell of old incense. The room was lit with a golden glow from a beam of sunlight coming through a crack in the ceiling. The walls were covered with beautiful paintings showing Cleopatra in all her glory, surrounded by gods and mythical creatures. In the center of the room was a fancy sarcophagus, intricately carved and decorated with jewels. When the sarcophagus was opened, it revealed not only Cleopatra's mummified body but also a treasure of priceless items, gold jewelry, silk robes, and scrolls that shared secrets of her reign. The discovery was celebrated as one of the greatest finds in modern archaeology, giving new insights into the legendary queen's mysterious life and her lavish burial. What do you think? This discovery reveals Cleopatra's true legacy. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Cleopatra VII, the last queen of ancient Egypt's Ptolemaic dynasty, died between August 10 and 12 in 30 BC in Alexandria at the age of 39. The exact date of Cleopatra's death is not known, but historian Theodore Cressy estimated it to be August 12, 30 BC, based on historical records and cross-referencing sources. This date is supported by Stanley M. Burstein, James Grout, Aidan Dodson, and Diane Hilton, though Hilton suggests it might have been around August 12. An alternative date of August 10, 30 BC, is supported by Dwayne W. Roller, Joanne Fletcher, and Janie Anderson. There is a popular story that Cleopatra ended her life by letting an asp, a type of Egyptian cobra, bite her. However, Roman writers from her time, such as Strabo, Plutarch, and Cassius Dio, suggested that Cleopatra might have used poison, either through a toxic cream or a sharp object like a hairpin. Today, scholars debate whether the snakebite story is true and whether Cleopatra might have been murdered. Some think her Roman rival Octavian forced her to choose her way to die. Cleopatra's tomb remains undiscovered. Historical records say that Octavian allowed Cleopatra and her partner Mark Antony, who died by stabbing himself, to be buried together with proper honors. Cleopatra's death marked the end of the final conflict of the Roman Republic. Cleopatra had supported Antony in his fight against Octavian. After their defeat at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, Antony and Cleopatra retreated to Egypt. Octavian eventually conquered Egypt and defeated them. By choosing to die, Cleopatra avoided the shame of being paraded as a captive in Octavian's triumphal parade. Octavian, who later became Rome's first emperor Augustus in 27 BC, had Cleopatra's son Caesar, a rival claimant to Julius Caesar's legacy, executed. However, he spared her children with Antony and took them to Rome. Cleopatra's death ended the Hellenistic period and Ptolemaic rule, leading to Egypt becoming a Roman province. Throughout history, Cleopatra's death has been depicted in many forms of art, including sculptures, paintings, poetry, and plays, extending to modern films. Ancient Roman art rarely shows her death, but later periods, including medieval, Renaissance, Baroque, and modern times, produced many works on this subject. Ancient Greek and Roman sculptures, like the Esquiline Venus and Sleeping Ariadne, inspired later depictions of her death, often featuring the snakebite story. Themes of passion and sexuality are common in artistic portrayals, especially from the Victorian era. Modern representations include neoclassical sculptures, Orientalist paintings, and films. After Julius Caesar's assassination in 44 BC, Rome saw the rise of the Second Triumvirate, consisting of Octavian, Mark Antony, and Aemilius Lepidus, who aimed to bring Caesar's assassins to justice. Lepidus was soon sidelined and later put under house arrest by Octavian. Octavian and Antony then split control of the Roman Empire, with Antony ruling the eastern regions and Octavian the west. Cleopatra, a Macedonian Greek who ruled Egypt from Alexandria, had a significant relationship with Julius Caesar, resulting in a son, Caesar. After Caesar's death, she formed a partnership with Antony. Encouraged by Cleopatra, Antony officially ended his marriage to Octavian's sister, Octavia Minor, in 32 BC. It is believed that he had already married Cleopatra earlier during the donations of Alexandria in 34 BC. This divorce, along with Octavian's public reveal of Antony's will, which showed Cleopatra's plans to increase her power in Roman lands and her continued unauthorized military support for a Roman citizen not holding an official position, led the Roman Senate, now under Octavian's control, to declare war on Cleopatra. After their defeat in the naval battle of Actium in 31 BC, Cleopatra and Antony retreated to Egypt to recover and prepare for Octavian's advancing forces, which had grown stronger due to the surrender of many of Antony's officers and soldiers in Greece. Following a long period of failed peace talks, Octavian's forces invaded Egypt in early 30 BC. While Octavian captured Pelusium near the eastern border of Egypt, his officer Cornelius Gallus moved from Cyrene and took Paraetonium to the west. Antony managed a small victory over Octavian's tired troops near Alexandria's Hippodrome on August 1, 30 BC, but soon after, his naval fleet and cavalry switched sides. As Octavian's forces closed in on Alexandria, Cleopatra retreated to her tomb with her closest attendants and sent a false message to Antony, claiming she had died by suicide. Distraught, Antony ordered his slave Eros to kill him, but Eros took his own life instead. In his despair, Antony fatally wounded himself with a sword. According to Plutarch, Antony was still alive when he was carried into Cleopatra's tomb, telling her with his last breath that he would die honorably and that she could trust a certain Gaius Proculius from Octavian's camp to treat her well. Proculius later used a ladder to enter Cleopatra's tomb through a window, detaining her before she could destroy herself and her treasures. Cleopatra was allowed to embalm Antony's body before being forcibly taken to the palace, where she eventually faced Octavian, who had also captured her 3 children, Alexander Aelios, Cleopatra Selene II, and Ptolemy Philadelphus. According to Livy, when Cleopatra met with Octavian, she boldly declared, "Will not be paraded in a triumph." Octavian responded loosely, saying only that her life would be spared without giving any specifics about his plans for Egypt or her family. Later, a spy warned Cleopatra that Octavian planned to take her to Rome to display her as a prisoner in his triumph. To avoid this disgrace, Cleopatra chose to end her own life. Plutarch describes Cleopatra's final moments as a ritualistic process. She prepared for her death by bathing and then enjoyed a fine meal, including figs brought to her in a basket. Octavian had instructed his freedman Epaphroditus to keep a close watch on Cleopatra to prevent her from committing suicide. Despite this, Cleopatra and her attendants managed to deceive him and carry out their plan. When Octavian received a note from Cleopatra requesting to be buried next to Antony, he sent messengers to her immediately. However, they arrived too late to prevent her death. Plutarch recounts that Cleopatra was found with her handmaiden Iais dying at her feet and Charmion adjusting Cleopatra's crown before she too passed away. It remains uncertain whether their deaths occurred inside Cleopatra's palace or in her tomb. Cassius Dio reports that Octavian even called upon snake charmers from the Scilai tribe of ancient Libya to attempt to revive Cleopatra by extracting venom, but their efforts were unsuccessful. Although Octavian was frustrated by the events, feeling he was deprived of a full victory, he honored Cleopatra's request by having her buried alongside Antony and provided proper burials for Iais and Charmion. Cleopatra's physician Olympus did not specify the cause of her death or mention an asp bite or an Egyptian cobra. Strabo, who provides the earliest account, believed Cleopatra might have committed suicide either by snake bite or poisonous ointment. Plutarch mentions the story of the asp being smuggled to her in a fig basket, but also considers other methods, such as using a sharp object like a hairpin to introduce poison. Cassius Dio notes small puncture wounds on Cleopatra's arm, but also acknowledges the uncertainty about the exact cause of death. Dio mentions the asp theory and the use of a needle, supporting Plutarch's account. Other historians like Florus and Valerius Maximus support the asp bite theory, while the Roman physician Galen describes Cleopatra biting her arm to introduce poison. Suetonius also recounts the asp story but doubts its accuracy. The exact cause of Cleopatra's death has been debated among scholars for a long time. Thomas Brown, a writer in the 17th century, noted in his book Pseudodoxia Epidemica that it was unclear how Cleopatra had died. He mentioned that art showing small snakes biting her did not correctly represent the large size of the land asp that was supposedly involved. In 1717, Giovanni Battista Morgagni, an anatomist, had a series of letters with Giovanni Maria Lancisi, a papal doctor, discussing Cleopatra's death. Morgagni suggested that Cleopatra likely died from a snake bite, whereas Lancisi proposed that she might have ingested poison. Morgagni pointed out that ancient writings did not support the idea of her drinking poison. Lancisi countered by saying that Roman poets were often unreliable because they exaggerated events. Later, in 1777, physician John Baptiste Gallin supported Morgagni's view that a snakebite was the most probable cause of death. Today, many scholars question the snakebite story. Rolla highlights that while snakes were important in Egyptian mythology, there are no historical records describing the difficulty of sneaking a large cobra into Cleopatra's room or getting it to bite her as intended. He also notes that snake venom is only deadly if injected into a crucial part of the body. Wilhelm Spiegelberg, an Egyptologist, argued that choosing a snakebite for suicide would align with Cleopatra's royal status, symbolizing the uraeus, the sacred serpent of the sun, god Ra. Robert A. Gervil, a classics professor, pointed out that a similar death method was used by Demetrios of Pharon, a non-royal, suggesting it was not unique to Egyptian royalty. Gervil also explained that the venom from an Egyptian cobra is very strong, but death wouldn't be instant, victims usually survive for hours. Francois Pic, Retief and Louise Sire argue that a large snake would not fit into a basket of figs, making poisoning a more plausible explanation for the quick deaths of Cleopatra and her handmaidens. They also mention other historical figures who used similar poisoning methods. Gregory T. Tulers and Marco Scarno suggest that Cleopatra might have been poisoned on Octavian's orders. Criminal profiler Pat Brown argues that Cleopatra was murdered and that the Romans covered it up. However, most ancient sources say she committed suicide. Historian Patricia Southern thinks Octavian might have let Cleopatra choose her death to avoid the sympathy her sister, Arsinoe IV, received when she was paraded in chains, but spared. Octavian may have preferred her to die by her own hand to avoid the political fallout from killing a queen whose statue was honored by his adoptive father. An alternative theory, proposed in 1888 by Ambrose Fired Gran Mori, suggests that Cleopatra died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Before her death, Cleopatra sent her son, Caesarion, to Upper Egypt, possibly planning for him to escape to Nubia, Ethiopia, or India. Caesarion, who had ruled as Ptolemy XV for just 18 days, was captured and killed on August 29, 30 BC, on Octavian's orders. This decision was based on advice from the Greek philosopher Arius Didymus, who believed that two rival heirs to Julius Caesar could not coexist. The deaths of Cleopatra and Caesarion marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the Hellenistic era, which had begun with Alexander the Great. Egypt then became a province of the Roman Empire, with Octavian, later known as Augustus, becoming the first Roman emperor in 27 BC. Roller asserts that Caesarion's short reign was largely a fictional creation by historians like Clement of Alexandria to fill the gap between Cleopatra's death and Egypt's annexation by Octavian. Antony and Cleopatra's 3 children were spared and sent to Rome. Their daughter, Cleopatra Selene II, later married Juba II of Mauritania. What are your thoughts on the astonishing discovery of Cleopatra's lost tomb by Egyptian scientists? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section.